North Central footy, I tell you what an interesting week it's been, with the lockdown concluding at 11:59 on Tuesday night. And to talk about the ramifications of coming back with no crowds and so forth, there's Ricky Allen from the Wycheproof Narraport Footy Club. G'day, Ricky. How are you?
Yeah, well, thanks, Wayne. Another good drop of rain during the week and a bit more coming tomorrow, hopefully. So things are looking nice and damp. It's been a great turnaround for the season. So everyone's nice and happy around the district.
They certainly are. Although I do hear that for the first time, I think since the famous Wycheproof Narraport would have amalgamated, and I would stand corrected by some of the old-timers, but it would appear that the first time the club's not been able to put senior sides on the park this weekend, forfeiting to Sea Lake Nandaly. Now, there's obviously the political nature of that, Ricky, when we look at the decision by North Central Football to go ahead and play. Could you explain just what Wycheproof Narraport had determined in relation to the COVID situation at an earlier stage?
Yeah, so just going back sort of 12, 15 months ago when this COVID thing took off, we informed the league that if the crowds weren't available, along with a number of other things, we wouldn't be submitting senior teams. But we, as a club, we're not financially stable enough to run at a loss, which effectively without a crowd at the game, that's what we'd be doing. So the decision's been made, for this weekend, and until crowds are allowed back, that we won't be fielding any seconds and senior teams. So this decision, Wayne, wasn't taken lightly and was discussed, and as a club, that's how the majority voted. So there won't be any football for Wycheproof Narraport and Sea Lake this weekend.
All right. Does that include across to netball and hockey in the same light, or are some of the netball and hockey players still playing up at Sea Lake?
So, the netball and hockey, at this stage, I'm led to believe they're still going ahead. So one of the things that we discussed we had a meeting last night, was that, would Sea Lake, or we've got Charlton the following week, would these sides be impacted by finals with us not playing? Do they require percentage and that type of thing? So I know with the netball, there is netball sides in Sea Lake who need percentage, and our hockey, men's hockey, is also in the finals as well, trying to gain position. So Sea Lake won't be impacted by our decision in terms of the ladder and where they're going to end up. They'll finish up on top of the ladder, Wayne. That was one of the things that come into the decision-making process last night.
And of course, that was at training on Thursday night. The decision to play by North Central was taken on Tuesday night when they were aware that the competition would come out of lockdown, but would come out with no crowds. Other clubs had received the same message, and along with the fact that some wanted to strongly get back, but I understand a couple of other clubs also had votes about whether they would play this weekend with no crowds in the North Central competition. Yeah,
you could probably look at the ladder, Wayne, and figure out which clubs are also thinking the same as us. And I wasn't at their meetings, but I'm under the belief that they had a similar vote or similar discussions to what we were having as well. So if the board was thinking this was just a one club decision, or one club was thinking about it, then they've probably got their head in the sand a little bit. So just probably we discussed a number of issues that we could spend half an hour on, Wayne, about why to play, why not to play. At the end of the day, the decision from the majority was to not play.
Yeah, I think there's a few other issues in that we talk about. Some of the players that are coming to the clubs, they come up out of Melbourne or out of Ballarat or Bendigo to play in North Central, and it is a situation where it's virtually no shower after the game. You get your gear and you virtually have to go under the COVID rules for games to be played this week and possibly next week. So this is not an easy decision to take when somebody has to come a really long way to play the game and then has to turn around and go without a shower virtually home. I think there's a whole range of other issues that could be explored here, but let's get to the issues to explore now on the field. Bort will play Wedderburn. Wedderburn would be happy about playing because that would give them the opportunity of probably qualifying Ben Derouge, who's been one of their stars up forward for the last couple of games that he has played, and they look like a finals-bound side, so they should beat Bort in this match.
I think they will, Wayne, So I think reading between the lines, they'll be wanting the football to go ahead, Wedderburn, to probably get a couple of players qualified for finals, which I can understand when you're vying for finals, and I'm sure their players, it's been a very interrupted, very unusual, unique season. So full credit to the coaches who are keeping the players motivated and ready to go. I know the year's taken a toll on, our players here at Wyche. So, I would be expecting Wedderburn to be too strong. I reckon Bort might be in a similar line of thinking to us, mate. I reckon they're looking for the season to end as well.
Yeah, I think so. A very, very important game, though, for Wedderburn in keeping that top two spot and keeping Birchwood at bay, who take on Charlton over at Charlton Park. And with that brand new facility that they've got there, there'll be no use of it virtually. Maybe they'll open the canteen, I don't know. But it's a very unusual situation with no crowds. But Birchwood, I saw in their lineup, and I counted them, in their three senior sides, that's their 16-year-olds and then their reserves and league side, they've got 7 Hogans running around. I mean, it's like Hogan's Heroes again at Birchwood.
Yeah, Hogan's long been the name associated with the Birch area, Wayne, and I think you could look back 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and there'll probably be more. So, a lot of Hogans obviously come from that area, like there is a lot of towns around this year. A lot of family names still at the club, which is great to see. An interesting point with Birchwood Wayne and the impacts of COVID going forward is that I'm thinking they've got 3 players who live in Adelaide. So I know with the border restrictions at the moment, and you might be able to help me out with this, but is it 2-week quarantine when you get back to Adelaide?
That's right. And so to qualify, if they are not qualified players, they would have to take the risk on that right now and then quarantine for 2 weeks. It means they would miss the next 2 weeks of action. So you're quite right. That actually is affecting over in Horsham District too with the Chaparral Rainbow Storm. They've got a couple of players that come out of Adelaide that they were hoping to qualify, including one star forward who was a former SANFL player in Ben Warren. And he at the moment hasn't played enough games to qualify for 4 games for finals, and with their season the way it's shaping up, may not get an opportunity to do so.
Yeah, well, I know one of Birchwood's players is probably the best player, in my opinion, Wayne, in the league, in Nathan Gordon. So if I was any of the Birchwood crew over there, so perhaps, Burnham Lowry, the president, or even Andrew Lee out at Chum Lake there, I'd be making a bed for Nathan for a couple of weeks. He can reside at the house and keep him in Victoria, because without him, I can't see how they're going to beat Sea Lake, so I'd be getting him across this side of the border.
Keeping him on this side and not letting him back into SA. But he's going to be a very important player. He has been named in the side to play against Charlton, as is Castellano. So on the Castellano watch, he's on a half-forward flank. What do you rate him for this game? Yeah,
I reckon Charlton are probably lacking a little motivation to see the year out as well, Wayne. So I reckon Castellano, Charlton match up really well defensively, although he's probably a bit small and nimble for a Tim Hill. So maybe a Daniel Tees will go to him. He might have a bit too much pace. I reckon Birchwood will be winning by about 15 goals. So I'm going for a handful for Dan. I reckon he'll kick 5.
Give it him 5. I'm going to give him 7 for a big game. Donald, big game, take on St Arnaud, and they can really shore up that 4th place, which I think they probably have already. But this is important for them to win, and win well against the 7th place side. And at their 7-2, and Donald 4-4 in a draw, and then chasing down Birchwood, they've really got to win this game to put Charlton out of business.
Yeah, Donald will win this game, Wayne. What I've seen a couple of weeks ago before the lockdown, Donald are really challenging for the top end of the table. So they're a smoky in the finals, and I wouldn't like to be playing them. So that becomes very important, that 2nd and 3rd position, straight up between Wedderburn and Birchwood. So, Donald will win this game against St Arnaud. They'll win comfortably. I'm thinking sort of 15 goals, Wayne. Their midfield of Ross Young, Vendetti, McGough, they just put it on a platter for the likes of Lee Burke. Now, they've also got their COVID issues too. They've got to get Seamus Young home from Perth. Also expecting a child at this time. So tricky times for everyone, Wayne. Everyone's got their challenges. So, but Donald to win easily.
Yeah, I think so. Seamus not named this week, of course, but Ross is named, and they got a good side in. I think they'll be too strong for the St Arnaud side. And, of course, the forfeited match, St Arnaud, Sea Lake Nandaly will have a forfeit and get the points and the percentage for this. How does that work out? Is it 20 goals to nothing when you get a forfeit?
Oh, I'm not sure, Wayne. I'm brand new to this, so don't know what the setup is there. That's people above my head.
All right. I reckon it is in other leagues, at least it is. That's what the score is done in other competitions where I've seen that in senior footy. So we'll wait and see on that one, and looking forward to results coming through across the grades and hearing a bit more Ricky Allen on the politics of footy. We never thought we'd be in this place, Ricky, when we first started calling football in North Central 5 or 6 years ago. So it's a fascinating circumstance that's opened up to us. Not necessarily a positive one, but then they're I guess, the difficulties we're dealing with in a very different world. And I do thank you for coming on and explaining your club's position.
No worries, Wayne. Good on you.